Only thing that a serious builder will pay for is talent and users. My large story short is that the only way you widen attention to Mindshare is making sure that there are minimal clicks between reading and exercising an action. I'll disagree with you from the get-go there. I don't think Mindshare is an economic or a liquidity primitive. I think the bigger battle to win is getting mindshare than actually building a product.
Welcome to the XTC India podcast, where we interrogate the architectures of the decentralized future. I'm your host, Kishanbaalaji. Today, we are unpacking a question that touches the cognitive, the economic, and the infrastructural. How do you convert cultural and intellectual influence, what we might call mindshare, into actual liquidity? Joining me is Raghu Mohan, co-founder and CEO of Rabble Labs, a Web3 native studio building on-chain infrastructure to help founders go from traction to trust to transaction. Rabble isn't just one platform. It's a composable suite that includes Scribble DAO, which is a crypto-native researcher collective turning social capital into grant-driven distribution. So they have two other products, which is Buidl.so, vetted network for Web3 founders to connect with capital, advisors, and talent. And Rabble App, a coordination interface for builders to access users, funding, and strategic distribution. They are not just building tools, they are reframing the economic grammar of influence. So, Raghu, you can tell me about your journey, about how you started with, Buidl.so or Rabble App, and how this whole thing came up to fruition.
I think my crypto journey can be defined in three pivots. The first pivot was, the biggest thing that founders wanted, I think, was talent and people building on their platform. And so I guess the first thing was, working on this thing called Lumos Labs, which used to give grants and prize money to builders. We used to do hackathons and accelerators and so on. I guess I hold responsibility for the grant farming behavior that happens in crypto, which is that I will build on one chain and then, go on to the next one. And I guess that honestly, made me think about, okay, what is it really useful? So we zoned in on which builder is useful. And so that was the second pivot. The second pivot is, this thing that we call Build.so. Build.so can be thought of as like this focus on better builders. So instead of saying, okay, anyone who can build, more than that, we'd be focusing on, okay, builders that are building serious projects. And that I think was like a good experiment to build on. And the platform that we put together was this thing called Build. So here we will try to be a bit of everything for everybody, right? Like saying, okay, we'll get you grants, we'll get you connections, we'll get you VCs and all of that. And it so turned out that we needed to go a step deeper than that. I think we weren't honest enough about which builder is worthy of support. And the builders that were worthy of support did not need the support that we were giving them, which is funding, which is access to capital, network, mentorship, and all of that. And so we were like, okay, so what do these deserving builders want? And that led us to our third pivot, which was two products. The only thing that a serious builder will pay for is talent and users, right? And so talent we had already tried out. It's not a scalable venture business, and we have raised venture capital for this. And so users was obviously the biggest damn thing that we could do. And so we built two products. One was the Rabble App, which was like this alt Telegram client. Telegram's over 1 billion users. And, we thought that if we could build like a crypto native experience, which is multi-chain inside of that, which we did build, it still does have about 20,000 users on it. But the problem was that it wasn't attracting liquidity because people with money were not comfortable sharing their Telegram login or to a third-party client. And the authentication on Telegram allows for clients to be able to see, messages and private data. It is another thing that Telegram will revoke your access if you do engage in these practices, but it's still a trust barrier that we could not cross. The second way to do it was Scribble DAO, which was essentially, hey, let's bring a bunch of educators together. Let them provide awareness for projects across various social medias like Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. And that's something that really worked out. It's been about a year now. We worked with over 50 projects since the time we started it. And this is like large guys like Base and Mantle and Fuel and all of these big networks to even smaller early stage startups like Electron, Over Under, Yellow, all of these really cool apps, Skillful AI. These are all like really cool apps that people can use. So that's growing really well, and we're building on Scribble DAO to be able to help founders get awareness and drive liquidity.
Thank you so much for clarifying that and, putting that out in such a, well structured manner. So let's clear something up for our listeners. And this is core to your work. We are tracking back to about how attention is not mindshare. Attention is transient. It's a scroll, a view, a spike. Mindshare, on the other hand, is persistent. It's cognitive embedding. When an idea becomes part of a person's worldview, toolset, or decision making architecture. So here's the question. How do you define mindshare as an economic primitive? One that accrues over time and compounds through network propagation? And how do you distinguish it from short-term dopamine loops that dominate most Web3 marketing and, of course, Instagram and everything else, right? So, yeah, these are some of the questions that I had in mind for me to understand about how attention is not mindshare and what mindshare is all about.
So I'll disagree with you from the get-go there. I don't think mindshare is an economic or a liquidity primitive. Do you relate to this? Who's the first word that comes to your mind? Sometimes mindshare can convert to economic benefit. For example, it's something as simple as a photocopier. You will always think of as Xerox, right? And so Xerox machines would have benefited from some part of that mindshare. Right. Mindshare can be a very negative thing as well, right? Like if I look at something negative and I think of you, then I don't know if that is a good thing, and I don't know if that translates to liquidity. You can monetize mindshare, and a lot of the the influencer culture today does that quite well. No, so my large point is that not all mindshare equals liquidity. There's a lot more to being able to drive liquidity. Attention, I am increasingly of the opinion that there are no crypto products. There is only tokens and complex mechanisms to get that token. And I don't know if that's a bad thing, right? Like, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. Being able to create assets and build markets around it. I mean, take XDC, for example, right? Like, you guys have $1 billion plus market cap on crypto Twitter. And why do you need to be anything else? Same thing with Cardano, same thing with XRP. It doesn't matter if a bank doesn't use you, you still have billions of dollars in market cap, which is value that most startups in the world cannot create, right? And so the attention game needs to be contextualized with the fact that tokens is what most people want to drive value to, either to fill your own treasury up or build a larger and larger market, right? And so there are now 30,000, 40,000 tokens in the world. How do you even bubble up for a potential retailer to be able to make a buying decision on you? That's quite hard. Before it used to be a centralized exchange. Now centralized exchanges have thousands and thousands and thousands of tokens. So how do I find you? Right. And so you need to break that attention barrier first. In fact, a great company that's doing a good job of creating attention is Noise. You should go and check them out. It's a tipping app on Base. And quite honestly, as a tech or a product, it's not new, right? But at the same time, just being able to drive attention to it through just very, very clear, succinct messaging, extremely good branding, and, very eye-catching things that pop on a feed. Those sort of things are really benefiting to them. And there you can see them grow up in market cap. So I feel like all of crypto is tokens at the end of the day. Very, very few non-financial use cases that are there. And even within that, the product is incidental. At the end of the day, it is about getting the token. To drive market cap to that token, you're going to need attention, and attention on feeds so that people find out about you. And then you need to perform as a token really well. Now, this could be because the mechanism that generates this token or drives value to this token is really good, or you just have exceptionally good marketing and, you've been able to have supply dynamics to make sure that your price goes up and down. And that consistent work is mindshare, right? So token needs attention. Attention converts to mindshare if you keep performing your job as a good token. And then, some of that mindshare can translate to your liquidity. So that's how I visualize the file.
Okay, I get your point. I completely get your point. So attention is the first step, where it's like, small things coming together, and then it creates that mindshare, and some of that converts to liquidity. So that's what you're saying. Yeah,
that's right.
That's awesome. I learned something new today. So let's move to our next segment, which is building the liquidity bridge. Assuming mindshare is cognitive capital, The next challenge is conversion. How do you conceptualize the bridge from narrative to liquidity? Not in the transactional sense, but structurally.
Yeah, so we visualize the funnel. There's attention created about a token. The
Yeah,
performance of the token somehow converts into mindshare, and then that
yeah.
mindshare translates into liquidity. So it's a very steep funnel if you really think about it, because this attention game is being played by everybody, right? And if you look at Kaito, it's what, like 100 leaderboards right now. And even within those 100 leaderboards, it's like the same guy is talking about 10 different things. So I'm likely to take them less seriously as things go on. If I go to an exchange, what I see is like this really intimidating list of tokens and my portfolio, and like, what do I do with this? Forget things like pub dexes and all of that. Like, I honestly feel like this is just at the discovery process, right? The products themselves are incredibly hard to use. Now, for example, if you've ever used a DEX, depositing liquidity, it's quite hard. And I'm not even getting to the point of, okay, here is your wallet, back up your seed phrase, sign these many transactions, which many of them, most people don't know what is that. And I feel that bottom of the funnel, widening that happens at the product level and at the user experience level. So that's essentially what Scribble DAO does at a large level. That, hey, okay, you are creating noise about this project. Let me give you a place where you can redirect this traffic to. And that place is basically where you can exercise some sort of liquidity on the content that you're writing about. So visualize this, like there is, I don't know, Boba Network, which is one of the recent, things that we've concluded. 360 writers wrote about it and generated close to 600K impressions. Now, let us assume that 100K of them are real impressions. One of the things that you could do there is, hey, 100,000 people, here is a link for you to go and buy Boba or do something with Boba. And essentially what you can do is just like a quick click there. I'm able to come into this place. I'm able to buy the token in one click without having to worry about it. I don't even need to have crypto for me to do it. I can just Google Pay into buying Boba. Right. Those are the kind of experiments that I feel really widen, convert the mindset to liquidity. So Scribble DAO has something called chapters that we've done. It starts at something as simple as being able to buy the token and goes all the way into saying staking the token, using the staked asset into another liquidity strategy, or LPing into one in one click and rebalancing automatically. So we use a bunch of these agents, as we call it, at the back, and leave the decision of, okay, you read this about this project. You can do these 3 things about this project. Just pick one and click yes. Right. And if you already have crypto, we'll take care of the rest. If you don't have crypto, here is a way for you to just easily Google Pay into this. So my large story short is that the only way you widen attention to mindshare is making sure that there are minimal clicks between reading and exercising an action. And those clicks also have to be extremely intuitive, and you have to be able to understand what you're doing there really, really well.
True.
And also the second thing is an incentive, right?
Yeah.
Every time a scribbler, drives traffic to one of these chapters, they get paid when a user buys on behalf of the creator using their link. And so now Boba doesn't need to consistently keep paying me, $5,000 or $10,000 a month.
Yeah.
What they can do is, hey, this chapter is live. Every time there is something interesting on Boba that's happening, the creator that has participated in this campaign can now go and say, hey, Boba, this is awesome thing that's happening here. If you're interested in Boba, you can go and buy this in just one click, right? And so that keeps that economy flying over and over again.
Yeah.
So 2 things: reduce the number of clicks between consumption and action, and 2, make sure that there is an incentive to perpetually talk about it. And that, I think, widens the funnel handoff between mindshare and liquidity.
Yeah. So basically removing friction and incentivizing people's actions in a financial way.
And incentivizing doesn't mean that I'll give you free money. It's like, hey, do something for me. I will pay you a cut of what I want. And that's, I think, a much more sustainable way of growing.
Yeah.
Because if somebody pays for that free money, is something that everybody has to understand, right? Or everyone who's farming an airdrop, it's 1 in 50 that really works out for you. Okay. And most of them, honestly, don't work out for you. And that is because the whole system in that sense is flawed. Someone's paying for it. And if you are paying for it, it should come from a sustainable place. And if it does come from a sustainable place, you can do it for longer and keep more people happy.
So what are the primitives? Tokens, DAOs, social graphs, on-chain grants? that facilitate this transformation? And how does Scribble DAO design for this? Not as a single funnel, but as a modular protocol compatible stack.
The primitive at the end of the day is, I think, attention, incentivized attention translating to sustainable liquidity, right? You have to give people a reason to talk about you. That could be financial. That could be that, oh, you're just like a really good project and it makes sense to talk about. But honestly, no one talks about you unless you incentivize them directly or indirectly. I put out this tweet recently that,
Mhm.
hey, what project would you talk about if they didn't pay you? Right. And honestly, it was all the projects whose token went up. So I'm
Okay.
like, that's kind of like, yeah, it is an incentive there. Maybe there were some of these hipster choices where somebody came and said, like, there's this one very esoteric project which is like really good in the way they work and all that. But honestly, it is like, hey, if chart go up, I will talk about you. so, so you're going to have to incentivize attention in that sense. And I think that's what players like Cookie and Kaito and all of these guys have done really well. They've built very good incentive models for attention. But I'd say the second part is the liquidity needs to come out of it. And that has to be sustainable. And that's where I think the model that we are doing, and I'm sure there will be others, because if I've thought of it, I'm sure hundreds of other people would have also thought about it. So sustainable liquidity flowing from that is something that you have to keep going. So yeah, that's essentially the primitive. There is attention and liquidity and a sustainable way to drive
Yeah,
liquidity. And then of course, below that you could do things that how we abstract the Web3 experience and all of that. But all of those are features. The benefit, the thing that makes this work is that we built a very easy way for people to generate attention on the flip of a switch and then convert a lot of that attention to token wise.
got it. Segment 4, productization, distribution, and social proof. Let's talk about Scribble DAO, a social mechanism cleverly disguised as a research collective. How does Scribble DAO operationalize the economic value of influence? How do you design a system where crypto native researchers are compensated not for speculation, but for creating narrative distribution that's high signal and on-chain accountable? Is this a new form of liquid labor or decentralized affiliate intelligence?
I think it's more on the affiliate side of things. And honestly, everything that we call as InfoFi right now are glorified labor markets, right? Like you come and put out an incentive and people will write about you. What you're actually selling is distribution. And at the end of the day, these are very efficient labor markets. And I think that a lot of these leaderboard companies have done that really, really well. I think where we make a difference is that there is some way for you to measure what that Mindshare is worth, right? And it's definitely not yaps. I can give you that much. It is honestly more along the lines of how much transactions I got out of it, how many new token buyers came as a result of it. And there has got to be that level of accountability that you should build. Whether this works or not, time will tell. But I think that fundamentally, first principles way of thinking what we do differently is we value what this attention is worth.
No, I think you guys are doing a great job, to be honest. I've gone through some of the articles that have come out and they're great. They're written really well and they're very, they educate people well about whatever they're talking about. So kudos to you and the writers. So segment 5, which is identity, pseudonymity, and ontological liquidity. Now, I want to go meta. How do you see pseudonymity, on-chain identity, and reputation composability shaping the next evolution of liquidity markets? Are we heading toward a world where the ontology of the builder, not just their output, becomes collateralizable? In other words, is the next frontier of capital not financial or even cultural, but ontological?
Actually, don't spend this much time thinking about the deeper philosophy of things, but I can take a stab at it. I feel like meme coins are a great way for us to really think about what capital is. Like something called Fart Coin has billions of dollars in market cap. And I guess just the fact that something like that exists and it has been able to garner that much attention, it makes you start to believe that there are other forms of value that now behaves like money, right? Like the value of a meme is to be relatable in situations and to laugh about it when it comes. That meme has been made into a coin and that coin has value. So in a way, is the market cap of one of these memes how popular something is or how much the laughter it generates is it worth? right? And so those are the sort of things that make me start to believe that,
Yeah.
the very definition of capital is changing.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, that's the beautiful thing about crypto. I feel like we're able to take anything, value it, tokenize it, and make it behave like money, right? Like, and there is a market in the world
Yeah.
that says that that is valuable.
Yeah.
So who am I to say whether that is right or wrong? And all I can do is observe that yes, this is happening, and and work with it. So large story short, yeah, to a large extent, I think the definition of money is changing, and meme coins and markets built around it are a great way to. And if you really want to like left curve this argument, maybe what they are valuing is how popular something is, how it makes you feel. That has value, and that value is money.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm going to just say that it is ontological because it has both, financial aspects to it, cultural aspects to it. I mean, meme culture it's a culture, right? So
Yeah.
I'm guessing it is ontological. And thank you so much for answering that really complicated question. Let's move over to segment 6, playbooks for builders with Mindshare, but no revenue. For those listening, creators, devs, founders who built meaningful Mindshare but haven't monetized it, where do they begin? What does a 0 to 1 strategy look like when your most valuable asset is influence and not capital? And how does your platform Rabble App support this transition with minimal lift?
If you have Mindshare, then honestly, the world is your oyster, right? Like, I don't know, whoever's seen Ashton Hall, talking about his morning routine over and over again. He's built this crazy following, and he has a coaching business at the back of it. But what I feel like he will do eventually is start to sell sports gear and health and fitness product. So yeah, I mean, like, if you have attention, find out why you got that attention, and then sell product that is related to that. Scribble DAO and the products that we build at Rabble Labs is like focused mainly on crypto products.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, super important to understand why you generated that attention in the first place. Ansem, for example, was a guy who bull posted Solana over and over again, and then he kept having these live streams where he spoke about really funny random things like dog with hat and all of that. And a lot of that streamer community actually ended up buying those tokens, and he
Yeah.
benefited dramatically from it. So
Yeah.
if you have a token, you already have something to monetize right now if you have attention and mindshare. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. I think the bigger battle to win is getting mindshare
Yeah.
than actually building a product.
Yeah.
So if you have mindshare, I think you just sell whatever makes sense to why you got that mindshare, and people buy it.
Segment 7, the networked economy of Rabble. Zooming out, you've orchestrated 45 plus hackathons, onboarded over 2,000 developers, facilitated over 10 million US dollars in startup capital, and plugged founders into a curated mentorship pool of 80 plus operators. What is Rabble evolving into? Is this a decentralized Y Combinator, a meta accelerator, or something entirely different?
I think Rabble's evolved into Scribble DAO. That's basically what has happened, and we are a attention and liquidity engine for projects
Yeah.
that need it. So
No, I don't think it doesn't
sorry,
fall in any of these
yeah, it
categories
doesn't.
because you guys have built something completely different. It's not doesn't fall in any of these categories.
Any
So
of them, yeah.
yeah, so it doesn't
That's
make
true.
sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It's just still of the same value. I think that being able to provide distribution to people is super important.
Got it. Got it.
So, and then valuing that and making sure that that converts to something is also
Yeah.
super important.
So, Raghu, thank you. This conversation was far more than tactical. It was epistemic. We unpacked how ideas become economies, how trust compounds, and how liquidity is as much about design as it is about distribution. To our listeners, explore the future of builder infrastructure at rabblelabs.xyz. The links are all below in the podcast. description. Dive into Scribble DAO, get connected on Buidl.so, and follow what they are doing.
Thank you for having me here. And the way you can get involved in this whole thing is by, heading to Scribble DAO, generating your link and sharing it with friends and earning money for every friend that you bring on board into crypto. And on our part, we'll make it really easy for them.
Perfect, Raghu. This is XTC India podcast. I'm Kishanbaalaji, and we'll be back soon with more minds who are rewriting the operating system of the open internet. Thank you.